morning. Thanks again for being here for coffee with the mayor. It's February 9th of 2026. I'll go through some slides. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. I'm going to start a little bit about the April elections. We have 4 alders that are up for re-election and myself, and none of us are challenged. We're all running again, but there's nobody that are challenging us. In the school district, there's 3 positions, and I understand that 2 of the 3 incumbents are running, so potentially there could be a write-in for the 3rd spot. And then the rest of the, I think there's a judge's race, which there's a primary that's occurring right now. There's 3 people running for 2 spots for the general election in April. And then there'll be elections in the fall for the statewide races. And then, of course, in the county, we have Michael Engelberger. He's our county supervisor, and he's running unopposed as well. And I'm going to give Mike a few minutes to talk about some of the things he's doing at the county level.
Right away already?
Sure.
All right.
Jump right into it.
How you doing, everybody?
Doing fine, Mike.
Good. As Tim said, I'll be running in the district that it's shown up there, which includes the whole city of Stoughton, and it includes Pleasant Springs up to the lake and a little up around and over to Highway N, on Circle over to N, and then it goes all the way down N, into town, kind of back out of town and down south of town into Dunkirk, down past the Dunkirk Dam. So that's kind of where my district is. There's another district that is, it includes Cambridge, and I think that's District 37, and that stretches all the way from Cambridge. It actually goes north a little ways almost to Marshall, and then it comes all the way down to the Albion, down to Rock County, goes underneath my district in Dunkirk, picks up the rest of Dunkirk, wraps around on the west side of my district, and the whole town of Rutland, which is included. So that District 37 does have a race also. Okay. Carrie Merritt is the current incumbent over there, and there's a lady, I think, from the village board in Deerfield that's running against her. So that's another spot that's being contested in the area. It's the only one being contested in the area besides the judge's race. So I guess let me just tell you a little bit about some of the committees that I'm on. Kind of shows them right there. The Alliant Energy Center Redevelopment Committee, which is a committee that deals with the Coliseum, the Alliant Energy Center, Expo Center. We have the Horse Fair and the World Dairy Expo, the Dane County Fair, all kinds of different events like that. And right now we're in a lot of development going on at the Alliant Energy Center. We're remodeling and adding to the Expo Center, adding some space there. We've got a proposal that just came in for $100 million of basically private funding to remodel the Dane County Coliseum into a facility that we're able to bring in main events and try to capture a lot of economic development and that kind of thing for the area. We have a proposal that hasn't been approved yet, but they're just starting to negotiate with Frank Productions. They've got Findorf lined up to do the construction work on the Coliseum, and so they're going to be doing some presentations to the board to see if we can get that passed and get that thing moving. In addition to that, there's another redevelopment plan around the whole campus there at the Alliant Energy Center, and that's going to include things like new hotels. Could have restaurants and office space, and even could have some housing developments right on the campus there of the Coliseum Alliant Energy Center campus. So we're trying to make a lot of improvements there, and basically to to get a lot more economic development going here in the city of Madison and around Dane County, bring people in. So it's really some exciting things that are going on there. Another committee I'm on is the Community Development Block Grant Committee, and that's a committee where we get federal funds for housing, and we try to disperse those funds into developments that are going to help the affordability of housing in the area. We do have a very severe housing crisis going on in the country, and it's especially severe around here, the Madison and Dane County area, including Stoughton and other municipalities around the county. We just don't have enough housing for people that are moving in. Dane County is the fastest growing county in the state, and we're just not keeping up with the housing here. So it's even worse here than it is in a lot of areas around the country. So you probably, if you drive around Madison, even around here, you see big apartment buildings and housing going up all over the place. It seems like there's a lot going on, but it's still just not enough going on. So we're trying to spur that development with that committee. County board is the regular position that I'm elected to, and that's includes all of these other committees. That county board, we have 37 supervisors, which seems like a lot, but it actually works pretty good with all the committees we have. We do a lot of the work gets done in our committees, and it comes to the county board. Sometimes we have 25, 30 page agendas for our county board meetings, but what we do is we encapsulate a whole bunch of different items in each, for each vote, and if we want to separate something out to talk about it, then we do, but generally a lot of things just kind of go through, and the work is done in the committee, and there's not really a lot of questions about a lot of different things that we do. The executive committee I'm on, that's basically just a committee that deals with some special items that are outside of the other committees, and it includes oversight of the executive's office and the administration, and a few other things like that. Lakes and Watershed Commission I'm on. As you know, in Dane County, the Yahara watershed kind of runs through the whole county pretty much and touches on a lot of municipalities, including Stoughton. The Yahara River comes through here, and what we do with that commission is we try to keep the lakes clean and address all kinds of issues like that. Right now, one of the issues we're dealing with is the ice ordinance, and we're trying to make that so it's more consistent with the Madison lakes are more consistent with the other lakes that are around the county. So we've had people come to us, the DNR and people that use the lakes with ice fishing and those kinds of things, and so we're trying to regulate some things like snowmobiles. What they wanted to do was have flotation devices. That's what the ordinance said in the past. Flotation devices on the vehicles. And it's really not something that's real practical because the manufacturers pretty much don't even make anything for that anymore. They used to, but they kind of quit doing that. So people were trying to, make things on their own as flotation devices for their vehicles. Well, basically, we're going to pretty much get rid of that and require flotation devices on the person that's on the vehicle, just like in a boat. So that's one of the things that we're changing for. And it hasn't come to a vote yet, but it's going to be coming pretty soon. We're doing a public hearing in the near future with the Lakes and Watershed Commission. So once we do that, we vote on that at the commission, then it goes to another committee, which is the Environmental, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee. And that committee will take up the issue after we take it up at the Lakes and Watershed Commission, And then once they take it up, then it goes to the county board to get approved for ordinance change. The Environmental, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee, they're in charge of all the land and water resources department with the county, which includes the park system and all of the different things to do with keeping the lakes clean, keeping the agriculture runoff out of trying to keep that out of the streams and watershed. They do all of the agricultural programs, the crop programs to such as creating prairie situations and causing less runoff and those kinds of things. So there's all kinds of things that committee does. The last one I'll tell you about is on my committee is Public Works and Transportation Committee. So I chair that committee, and we have 5 people on the committee. And all of the things that come to that committee would include the highway department, all of the roads. So the highway department takes care of the county roads, and then they also take care of the maintenance on the state highways and the federal highways. We get money from those organizations to keep up maintenance and that kind of thing on those roads, as well as plowing snow and that kind of thing as well, and mowing side of the roads, that kind of thing. Public Works also has, we take care of all the facilities as far as construction of all of the buildings that we have with the county, including the jail that's going on currently. We also have the communication center that's going on right now. Another few of the other things that we handle with the Public Works and Transportation, Alliant Energy Center, as I was explaining before, is covered under our committee. We have the Waste and Renewables, which is our landfill. We cover the airport, we cover the zoo, we cover the Dane County parking ramp. So that committee, and the committee only covers about 10% of our budget, but it covers all of those different things. And we have, so then I wanted to talk about several other committees that we have. I'd already talked about other standing committees. One is the Environmental, Agriculture, and Natural Resources. Another one is the Health and Human Needs Committee. That's our largest committee of the county. And we have, that covers about 40% of our budget. So that's, our budget is like $900 million. So you're talking $350 million is what is covered under the Health and Human Needs. And a lot of those funds come from the feds or comes from the state, and it's like pass-through type money. And the Human Needs Committee, Health and Human Needs Committee deals with things like housing. So the Community Development Grant Commission is under that, covered by the Health and Human Needs also. It also covers homelessness, all kinds of different things like that. We have a lot of, you see in town here, what is it, FF? The building that's in...
The Alvinstead or
No.
the Dane County Housing Authority?
No, it's right, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's right in Kittleson's building there.
Oh, the JFF.
JFF.
Joining Forces for Families.
Yeah, Joining Forces for Family. That's one of the things that's covered under Health and Human Needs. So we have social workers that deal with that. Like I say, there's 40% of our budget. That's a big portion of what the county does is health and human needs type things. Also, our Madison, Dane County Health Board is part of that as well. And they do things like, checking restaurants for permits and food health and that kind of thing. Another committee we have, Personnel and Finance, so they deal with all our financial issues and personnel issues. They're big on the budget, so the budget time is when they really do a lot of their work. Plus they approve different things that come from all of the different committees. They approve things that go on to the board. PP&J, which is the Public Protection and Judiciary Committee. That's something that the county does, and that includes the sheriff's office. It includes the court system, the DA's office. So that's another large portion of what the county does. I think that's about maybe 20 or 25% of our budget is public protection and judiciary. I already talked about the public works. There's another committee that is, and the last committee is that I'll talk about is the zoning and land regulation committee. And basically what they do is they take care of all of the zoning issues and planning issues for the county that are outside of the municipalities. So Stoughton has its own planning commission and that kind of thing, so we don't deal with stuff inside of Stoughton or inside of Madison or other communities. But we deal in things like in Pleasant Springs or in Dunkirk, different communities that are unincorporated around the county. So all the zoning type issues and planning. One of the planning things, and Tim has talked about this quite often in here, is our regional housing strategy that we've had for the last 4 years, and that was to address the housing crisis that we've had, the affordable housing crisis, and we've done a lot of different things with changing zoning and trying to make things uniform throughout the county to address the housing crisis and try to build more buildings and more units to get people housed. And some of the things, like we do some things here in town that the county is also dealing with CDGB funds and different things, which like Habitat for Humanity is one of them. We just had a couple units here that were just opened up about a month or so ago, and we continue to work on that kind of thing. In one of my budget things that we've done in the last couple of years, we've gotten $2 million for Habitat for Humanity. That was in 2024, and that was for them to help them be able to purchase property, because prices have just gone through the roof with regard to housing, and that's why you're seeing houses that are just enormous prices these days, and condos or anything like that. We got another $2 million grant through the 2025 budget, and that was for the Madison Land Trust and Madison Area Community Land Trust. And that's a similar organization that does things kind of similar to Habitat for Humanity. And the only difference there is that the trust owns the land, and then the people buy a home on their land, on that land, and it's subsidized, and they put developments up. Half of that $1 million would go in the city of Madison, half outside the city of Madison. So we're trying to get, Tim is working with the Land Trust to try to get them down here to get a development going down here in Stoughton. So those are some of the things we're doing with regard to housing, and it's definitely needed, in addition to all of the things that the mayor and city council are doing here in Stoughton with all the different developments we've got going. Our budgets are based on our state formula, which basically deals with growth, and you have to grow in order to get more money for your municipalities in your budgets, and it's not an ideal way for the state to be handling budgets that way, but that's the hand that we're dealt with, and if you don't grow, you're not going to get as much money from the state. You're not going to be able to increase your budgets, and there's such a budget crunch these days that you know, we need to really change some of these laws, so, on the state level. And we've been working on those kinds of things, but we've been working on it for years. What it's gonna take is getting the right people in office and getting a philosophy that you're gonna be able to provide services in your communities that where you're not just running out of money all the time and always in a crunch. So I guess, how much time do we have here? Got a little
As
more
much time as you want.
Okay.
Probably want to leave a few minutes for questions.
Okay, I'll go over a couple things here regarding our budgets with the county. So as I was saying, Health and Human Services is about 39, it's about 40% of our budget. That's the largest portion of our expenditures. And just to give you an idea what some of the other ones, the public safety criminal justice system, which includes the courts and the sheriff's office, that's about 21% of our budget. Let's see. Public Works is about 9.3, so that would be my committee that we deal with, so we're just under 10%. Debt service is about 10%, and that what debt service is would be our borrowing each year. We did have some major borrowing about 2 or 3 years ago when we approved the new jail project. That's a $200 million project just about. So, but in the last couple of years, our capital expenditures have been going down quite a bit. So that's some of the expenditure side. On the revenue side of our budget, we're about, anybody have a guess on how much of the county's budget relies on property taxes? Anybody got a guess? Charles, take a guess.
Between 45 and 55%.
Okay. No, it's 33%.
Okay.
Is what, that's the property taxes that you see on your property tax bill for the county. 33% is what we take in for revenues. Some of the other places we get our money, intergovernmental revenues, which would be like funds from the federal and funds from the state that would go towards some of the things like community development grants and that kind of thing. That's 35%, so that's even more than our property taxes. That's the largest part of our budget for revenues. Sales tax, what do you think about sales tax? We've got a 0.5% sales tax for the county. The state is 5%, so it's 5.5% here in Dane County. What do you think it is for, how much of our revenue comes in from sales tax, we figure? Anybody? 15? That's pretty close. It's actually 12%. Yeah. So it's not a lot, you know, but it adds up, and
It's more than we get.
yeah. Right. How much do you get?
What, zero?
Sales tax. Zero. Yeah. So, and that's another reason why you want to bring in, you know, things for the Coliseum and that kind of thing. Bring in economic development. The more money people spend in your town and in your county, the more sales tax we're going to be able to generate. Now, lately, the sales tax has been, even though everything is kind of going up, the trend is going down on sales tax because people are unsure about the economy and that kind of thing, and they're not spending as much, and so our revenues are kind of dropping slightly, and that's one of the problems that we've had. We've had a shortfall in our budget recently. A couple of the other things, public service charges for services, that's about 12% also. License and permits is about 2%. Fines and forfeitures, only like 1/3%. It's not very big. So you can see where some of our revenue comes from. How you doing, AJ?
Good, how are you?
Good. let's see, what else did I want to tell you? So we have, our budgets have increased. What I've got in front of me here is just up to 2024, but I'll just give you an idea. Our total budget in 2020 was about $584 million. That's gone up. It actually went down in 21. We had kind of COVID years in there a little bit, so that affected some things. It went down slightly to $572 million. 2022 was $652 million, so it did go up quite a bit. It went up slightly in 2023 to $676 million. And then 2024 was $753 million. So things have gone up, but the thing that really hasn't, just to give you an idea how this stuff kind of works, the tax levy has gone up, 154 million in 2015, and in 10 years it was up about 254. So it went up about $100 million in 10 years, the tax levy. But I can tell you what the equalized value of property, 49 billion throughout the county, that was in 2015, 93 billion in 2024. So that almost doubled from 2015 to 2024. The equalized value, that's the number that the state formulas are based off of, as far as how much you can raise your tax revenue for the current budget. So that almost doubled. The tax rate, however, in 2015, the tax rate on the levy was $3.12, and then I think that's per thousand. And then in 2024, it was down to $2.73. So it went from $3.12 in 2015 down to $2.73 in 2024.
That'd be the mill rate?
That's the tax rate. Yeah, I believe it would be the mill rate.
Can you explain, Mike, a little bit as far as why that took place or what the formula is?
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what I just said, is the tax levy doubled, almost doubled, okay? So our taxes went up, almost doubled, and our value doubled.
Mm-hmm.
But when you average those out, or when you calculate those out, our tax rate actually dropped. But the reason we're paying more taxes is because the value keeps going up.
Mm-hmm.
So your home, you get your property taxes, you look at your bill, hey, my tax rate is down, but my taxes went up. Why is that? Well, it's because
the home value doubled in the last 10 years, basically.
The home values are skyrocketing. And, every municipality does it slightly different. So when you try to compare your Stoughton municipality to Pleasant Springs or Dunkirk or to Madison or whatever, nothing seems to average out or work out because things are so much different as far as the value, the assessed value, those kinds of things. So it's very confusing, but there's reasons why things go up, and it seems like it shouldn't be going up and that kind of thing. So, Tim, you might want to explain a little bit more about on the Stoughton area.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the services that we're providing. The services in the city are much different than they are in the township. In the city, we pick up leaves, for example. You wouldn't get that kind of service in the township. So the mill rate in the township is generally less because they're not basically taxing for that. They never have. And when they changed the law several years ago, we were locked in at a rate based on what our employee count was at that point, much like the school districts were the same way. So that's why a lot of school districts have gone to referendum, and some have gone for more than others because maybe some of them had, a superintendent and an assistant superintendent, where another district only had one or the other, or they had multiple principals or different number of teachers compared to another district. So you were locked in wherever you were at, and Stoughton was notoriously frugal in the city and in the school district, so we got locked in at a lower level, so we had less overhead than maybe some of the other municipalities or school districts throughout the state. So you see that school districts and municipalities are trying to make that up through referendum or wheel taxes, and we've worked really hard to try to avoid that here. It's, you know, to me, it's just a Band-Aid approach, and what we're trying to do is just manage within our needs and then focus on some strategies at the state level, so we're not so reliant on the property taxes, because that's really the biggest problem. Is we're all too reliant on property taxes, and you know, I feel there's other means of revenue that are out there. There's a lot of property tax exemptions that are out there. The state's sitting on a surplus. Mike indicated that a big chunk of their budget is basically on capital. That means they're paying interest on money. They have to borrow for money instead of paying cash for it, because they're limited on what they can tax for through their property taxes, much like we are. So there's some solutions at the state level. And at some point, I'm hoping that the state legislators on both sides will roll up their sleeves and look for solutions instead of blame.
So I just wanted to point out something here. Here's my email, and right here, sign up for district updates. If you go to our website, just you can either put my name in or District 35, Dane County Supervisor. Click on that, sign up for district updates. I do a blog on there, and it's you just click on that. I only update it maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but it's something that I like to try to keep constituents up to date on what's going on. I try to update things like when we pass the budget, those kinds of things. And then what I do in there is I try to link, I put a bunch of links in there and talk about certain departments that we have in the county, so you can just go right to the website. Our website is very comprehensive. And you know, if you're into land and water issues, you can go to our land and water department and find all kinds of different things. One of the main things we're doing with that, or what I consider something that's really important, is trying to get a bike trail down here from Lake Eganza Park to where it's extended to now, right down here in the Stoughton, so it'll connect into our bike paths here in town. And to me, those are some things that are really important for people: recreation, health. You know, people like to ride bikes and that kind of thing, walk on the trails. And we've got some. If you haven't walked on the trail from the fish camp up in McFarland on the north side of Lake Eganza, all the way over to Lake Eganza State Park, it's a beautiful trail we just put in about 2 years ago. Boardwalk and everything, and over the marsh, and very nice. And also, we're trying to get that connected between McFarland up to Lake Wabisa. There's another trail that goes around Lake Wabisa that connects up to the Capital City Trail. So this whole network is something that's really comprehensive throughout the county, and a lot of people enjoy those kind of things. So that's one of the things there. I put other updates in there, like I say, links to all the different departments, and so you can just check it out if you like. I guess that's about all I've got, unless you got some questions. I know Charles had a question on her budget. Go ahead.
Do you have a question?
Oh, it was just basically Tim and Mike that I've been, watching the news, and they were talking about Melissa working on some things as far as going through the budget and trying to balance out what's gone on, and that there were some gray areas there or something. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, first of all, this past budget, which is the 2026 budget that we approved in November, we had about a $30 million shortfall. So that was something that we had to address. And what happens with our budget is the executive, which is Melissa Agard, she presents a budget to the county board in October, like around October 1st, and then we take about a month and a half or so, a little over a month, to go over her budget and try to make any changes that we feel are necessary to address the situation. And yeah, she addressed it her way, and then the board didn't like some of the things that she did, so we changed a few things.
Okay.
And I think that's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, because the newspaper article wasn't all that
Yeah.
clear, they
Yeah.
just said something was happening.
I think some of the things Mike mentioned, like the revenues being down, relying on federal money that may or may not be there any longer. And these are things that I think accumulated over a period of years.
Yeah.
And I think the county executive's approach was to be a little bit more aggressive than
Yeah.
maybe the board wanted to be.
One of the ways she addressed, and the board also addressed, was basically eliminating positions that were vacant, you know.
Okay.
So the board did, and, you know, she proposed and we did take away some positions that were vacant. You know, that works for a while, but then next year, you know, prices keep going up, everything keeps skyrocketing, and like Tim said, and like I said before, our revenues are falling a little short, and it's for various reasons. They don't allow us to, you know, they take local control away, the state does, so that hurts us, and it hurts municipalities. And, you know, there's other revenue shortfalls, like I was saying about the tax, what is it? I can't remember.
The
Sales tax, yeah, the sales tax. So, like I said, it's trending down, so that hurts us as far as,
And
you
the
know,
room
keeping
taxes,
up.
room
And
tax would be
then,
another one.
well, room tax too, we don't get a lot of the room tax. A lot of it goes to Madison, and a lot of it goes to, you know, local hotels and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, the county doesn't really benefit off of that.
Good.
We used to benefit off of it at our hotel that was on our property in, at the Alignment Energy Center. But that changed from the town of Madison, now it's in the city of Madison. So we've got a whole bunch of different things we're dealing with there, zoning wise, that make it more difficult to build and get less revenue from hotel tax and that kind of thing. But we're trying to address that. But getting back to the budget thing, you know, we did our best to try to alleviate the budget situation, but you can't really, when you have a $30 million deficit, you can't really address it all in one
Yeah,
year.
there's no magic bullet.
So this next year, we're gonna have another deficit again. And it's even gonna be more difficult this time because we've already pulled a bunch of levers that we're not gonna be able to pull this year. So it's gonna be even more difficult. I think we're probably gonna have to lay some people off this year. The county does have like almost, 2,800 employees or so. And, you know, we're looking at if our revenues don't match what our expenditures are, we're gonna have to do some layoffs. So, not a good situation to get into.
Are you required to balance the budget each year?
We are required
Yes.
to balance the budget, yeah, that's a state law requirement for counties and local municipalities, yeah. So,
Can you give us an update, Mike, on the jail? As far as I
Yeah,
don't hear
yeah.
anything about that.
right now, the jail is moving right along. It's probably close to half done right now, about 50% complete. I think we're expecting it to open sometime in, I think, late '27, somewhere in there. So the project is going well. One of the things that my committee deals with, Public Works and Transportation, is a lot of change orders that come from all these building projects.
Okay.
So a lot of those change orders come to us. And the jail has had like 190 change orders so far, something like that. It's a huge project. But the thing is, we set aside like 10% of our, for building projects, contingency that would use that money towards change orders. Well, right now, we're about 50% complete. We're only about 25% into our contingency. So that's really a good thing. Now, that's not saying we're not gonna use the whole thing up, you know, for the rest of the project, but I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to use less than that full amount for the contingency on the jail. But it is moving along. It's expected to open on schedule, and you know, it's going to actually be a good thing for the county because the current facility that we have is just not even humane for people. We had to pull 2 floors out of, we had to pull a portion of the city-county jail out, and because the conditions were so bad. Huber Center was even worse, and we are gonna demolish the Huber Center, and probably gonna be another hotel over there that's gonna be tied to the Expo Center.
Do you have a question over here?
Any other questions?
How does the sales tax work on the internet? I don't shop on the internet, but you buy
Technically,
something, do
yeah.
you get taxed out of that, or?
Well, technically, you're supposed to pay sales tax when you order something from out of state. Whether that happens or not is up in the air, you know, in all cases. But yeah, that.
So that could be a big thing
That
with your
could be.
sales tax.
Right, right, that does go towards, and, you know, I'm sure the state probably has done studies on that, where they probably could get more than what they're getting. But, you know, that's our people, it's similar to people working under the table, you know.
Right.
If people are working under the table, that tax money doesn't come into the state or the municipalities, you know, wherever it should go. And it's a similar situation. There has to be checks and balances on that stuff. And when the IRS is laying off all kinds of people, they don't have the people to check that kind of thing, you know, so that's a problem.
All right, anything else for Mike? I mean, you can see that Mike is, you know, he represents us. He ran for office for the right reasons. He really just wanted to get involved. These are nonpartisan positions, even though there's always politics in everything that you do. But, you know, what I really like about him is he's not afraid to speak his mind, and he does it in a way where he doesn't offend people. And I think that's kind of a lost art right now, so he's been doing a terrific job, so appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
We got a great mayor as well. We worked together on the city council, and as soon as he got elected, I said, no, I don't need to be on the city council.
No, he quit on me. So,
Thanks.
thank you. And then our Director of Human Resources is here, AJ, if anybody ever wanted to know. AJ's one of those positions that is more of an internal position to make sure we have enough people and support that we need, and also to make sure that we're protected for liability on insurance. So appreciate her being here as well. And I'll just pop through some slides here, and if you have any questions, like I said, you can just stop me. So here's the depot. You can see there's a sign up there now. The Schmidt Foundation purchased the building. They're in the process of investing about $1 million in the building, $500,000 on the outside. They'll be putting new windows and doors, and then the inside is just about complete. They redid some of the wood floors, opened things up, peeled back the onion, found a few surprises here and there. So the building is going to be really well stabilized now and ready for use. Probably sometime between now and the end of March is what they're telling me. They had one event there. People were able to tour the building. Mike and I actually went down there that Sunday, and it's coming along quite nicely, and they're still in the process of trying to acquire some other buildings. So we're excited about what that's going to bring to that side of town. We're also working with the Historical Society. I met with them a couple weeks ago. Next week we'll have a resolution on for the Finance Committee and City Council. What they want to do is they still need storage right now. Some of their items are down at the fairgrounds, and then they have some items out at in a barn out on the farm that they have a couple of years to store it out there for free. And what they want to do is they want to put up a structure next to the Luke Stoughton house over here. So they requested $80,000 from the city, which we sold the building for $170,000. So they requested $80,000 from the city to help construct their new building, which it's a lot of money, but we were spending about $8,700 a year. So it's about 10 years of expenses that we were having just to maintain the building without any revenue coming in. So for me, you know, it's a win for a lot of reasons. It helps economic development in this end of town. We get to invest in a building without investing taxpayers' dollars in doing it. And then the Historical Society will have an opportunity to have actually more space than they have right now. So and more visibility. So I actually think it's going to be a win all around. I know it was kind of a tough process to go through, but, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to make difficult decisions. This certainly was a difficult decision politically for me, but, you know, I think there's a lot of people in the community that recognize that this is going to be a good opportunity. This is a picture of Stoughton Trailers Community Park. We're in the process of trying to narrow down our, what we call a master plan. So what we do is we have the engineers come in, their expenses are paid for by the impact fees, and impact fees are collected basically when somebody pulls a building permit for a house, they have to pay a fee, and that fee helps pay for the master plan and any amenities like shelters or playground equipment that would go in the park. One of the challenges we're gonna have out here is normally a development of this size would have about a 12-acre park. Stoughton Trailers really wanted to have a larger park around their campus, so it's more like 30 acres. We only have money coming in based on 12 acres, not 30 acres. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to raise money if we're gonna have all the amenities that are included into the master plan. So initially what we wanna do is start with the green, which is the soccer fields. It will take the grass a couple years for it to take. So there's a certain amount of grading that needs to go on. And then the committee, the Park and Recreation Committee, will work toward prioritizing the rest of the amenities. And we'll just pay for them and have them constructed as we collect the money. Stoughton Trailers, it sounds like they're gonna be willing to donate some money to help get the fundraising process going. So there'll be more conversation on that, but they're looking at doing features like pickleball courts, basketball court, shelter, maybe a little building where you could have parties, something a little bit bigger than a shelter. And then the area on the left, potentially, if we were gonna pursue like an aquatic center, that's where it would go. We're talking millions of dollars. That'll be kind of a community-wide conversation that I'm not really ready to have yet, but others are, so we'll see how that goes. Right now, we don't have any money budgeted to engineer or to pay for a study of what an aquatic center might look like, so that would probably be in the 2027 budget unless somebody else wants to step up and pay for it. This one here is Man Park. So most of the work down there is completed right now. If you look up in the kind of the upper left there, they're just finishing the shelter up here. I don't know if you've been down there. There's a shelter going in here. There'll be 4 restrooms in there, so you'll be able to access them during events. And then we're also working with Dane County. They received some federal money for EV charging stations for electric vehicles. And we're looking at probably putting 4 of them right in this area here. So close enough to the shelter and the man center where we kind of split the difference there. And it's a 5-year commitment to put in the charging centers, and they basically take care of all the maintenance. The people that will use them will have to pay to use them. We can't make any money on them, so we have to monitor it so we can adjust the price basically to break even. So that's something that we're working on. I just received an email this morning that there may be another round of applications for other charging stations. So if you have any ideas of where there's a big parking lot that you think we should have electric vehicle charging stations, I'd love to hear your ideas. The Taste of Stoughton is looking at moving their event down there, and hopefully we'll have some new events, but this is basically mostly done now. You know, in the future, at some point, these fair buildings might be consolidated into this space here. It's a little bit unknown what will happen with the Troll Beach, as well as the bus barn. One of the things that Stoughton Utilities is going to be doing is they're going to be looking at a study for the wastewater expansion, because if we're going to grow as a community, at some point we're going to have to grow our wastewater treatment plant. It only makes sense to grow where we're at. If we were to build another one or relocate it, we're talking tens of millions of dollars to do that. And so we have to do some soil samples and things like that to determine if one or the other site down there would be more suited for expansion of the wastewater plant. So that's one thing that Stoughton Utilities will be working on. The river, we're gonna be having a public hearing coming up, I think it's on the 24th, if I remember right. So we've been working with the DNR to put in a couple of structures downstream. This is one of them here, they're calling it a small dam. We thought maybe it would be a miscellaneous structure. And then some other features that protrude out into the river, which we call deflectors. And in order to put them in, we have to get a permit. In order to get the permit, we have to apply, and there's 3 of them that we applied for. One we've already secured, but it's contingent on the other 2, so we really don't have it. And that's the one for the sidewalk that would go underneath the bridge through the culvert. And the other 2 would be for the features I just described. And at that point, if those are approved, then we would also be filling in what we call the head race and the tail race, which, I'll forget a good picture of that. Basically, it's the area right behind Stoughton Utilities and the one by the powerhouse. The powerhouse, or power plant, or whatever you want to call it down there, is a historic building. It's considered part of the dam. So we can't really do anything with that building as far as trying to sell it or redevelop it until we get a determination on these permits. So we're hoping to have that done. I just learned this morning that what we thought was going to be a 30 or 60-day approval process is going to be 120. So, I mean, it's in the code, but they probably could have told us that 5 years ago. Just saying, you know, it's been a challenging project, but we're still moving forward on it. At this point, we've secured over $900,000 in grants toward this project, and we have another $3 million worth of grants right now through Representative Pocan's office. Not really sure what the odds are that we'll secure that, but if we do, that would be a big deal for us to help pay for some of this. We can potentially pay for some of it using some of the impact fees. As we develop the apartments on the other side of the river, there'll be some money collected when we pull those permits, similar to what I described for Stoughton trailers. So, you know, we're hoping that we can, you know, minimize what the impact will be. You know, if we have to borrow money, it'll be over a period of 20 to 30 years. So much like the counties, it'll be in the debt service and that's spread out. So it's not like all of a sudden you're gonna wake up tomorrow and you're gonna have another $3 million on your property tax bill spread out throughout the city because of this project. It'll be similar to a streets or building project that we do every year, or vehicles or equipment. So, so it's moving along slowly but surely. And you can kind of see what we want to do here. Eventually, we get these downstream features done. We've already done a couple. We've done some riverbank work. If you've been down there, you can see the ADA accessible trail. We replaced the road that was down there. We put in the trail and the little nodes that you can go down and fish or do a picnic or whatever you want to do. And then this, like I said, will go underneath the bridge. And then eventually, if we want to have the conversation about the dam itself, that's a whole separate approval process. It's its own permit because we'd be lowering the water level. And at that point, if that were to be successful, we'd be adding these ponds. So you could either go through these little ponds to get through here, or you could come up through this way to get through where the dam would be, and that's where the water would drop and then have all the ripple effect. And for those that want to kayak or tube through there. This is the shelter I was describing. You can kind of see they're mostly done with it. And then this is what kind of the trail will look like that's going under the bridge. And then, like I said, you get kayak or whatever underneath the culvert there. And then really, we can't charge people to use the water. It's a public waterway, so if people want to go down there, it'll be free recreational opportunities for them. And also it'll be good for the fishing too. I know I've described that in the past, because by lowering the water level at the dam, the fish will be able to get upstream right now and spawn. Right now they can't do that. They'll be able to do that in the future. So this is kind of what it could look like when it's kind of said and done with. It would have been a lot easier if we replaced the whole bridge and did a big span bridge. But we really didn't want to invest money to do that, and the DOT wasn't gonna give us the money, so we're just gonna make do with what we have, and eventually that's probably what'll happen. When it comes time to replace the bridge, we'll probably put in something a little bit different that'll give us more space underneath there. And this is coming from the other angle, so you can see we'll be able to bike or walk it. And then one of the things we'll have to do is if we have years where we have a lot of rain, for example, and the water level goes up, we may have to just close that for a few days here and there because you don't want to be in there and get swept away. So that would be something we would work with the DNR on as part of the permitting, and then the county helps us manage the water level of the dam and the adjustments on it. They basically send us a text and our guys go down there and they do manual adjustments, which they'll continue to do. And you can see on the right there, as part of the development with the apartments, there's going to be some green space down there as well. And they haven't really done a master plan there to determine what will be in that green space. There won't be a lot of room, but at least enough for people to be able to enjoy, you know, being on the river there, and you can kind of see a little bit about the plantings and the rocks they put along the riverbank there to kind of beautify it and help with the erosion.
Tim,
Yes.
where does that path start and end?
So right now, the path it's gonna go, right now it goes all the way toward Elvinstead. There's one section before Elvinstead that Stoughton Trailers owns this big green building there. And we've had conversations with them about trying to get that little section to make that connection. I think they're open to it. Once we get closer to getting this work completed, I think we'll probably have a little deeper conversation. We could get the trail all the way over to Dunkirk Park. If you're familiar with that, it's kind of it's a smaller park, kind of south of the edge of the river there. Yeah. So that would be where we go that way, and then the other way, as we go this way, it would go under, and then it would go underneath 4th Street or across 4th Street, either way. And then eventually we want to come over by Uniroyal, come along Uniroyal over by where I call it the Peatsville Bridge. I don't know what the official name of it is.
Yeah.
So you can take the bridge, which we're in the process of replacing that bridge. It's in the budget, but we have to acquire some land to replace the bridge because the codes for the bridges now, it has to be a little bit wider for ADA accessibility. So we have a multi-step process in order to acquire the land to do the work. We successfully completed the first step. Public Works and Park and Rec are working on additional steps. So it would basically go from Dunkirk Park all the way basically over here, and then we want to get it to go down Division Street and eventually have all that land over there by where IKI was, and put a trail in there that would take you all the way over to Scotland and Stoughton Hospital. That's kind of the long-term vision.
Nice.
I have no idea how long it's going to take us to get there. We're kind of racing the county to see who can make the next connection. They have more money than we do, I'm betting on them. Plus Mike has more influence. So we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of the long-term plan.
Thank you.
Good. And then these are some of the things that when the DNR are evaluating the permits, they have to look at. So it's kind of the water levels and the impacts. What we're finding is they inspected like all the piers and all the docks. Most of them haven't been used for years and they're not in very good shape. So I'm sure at the public hearing, we're gonna hear people say, oh, you know, I'm gonna have to rebuild my dock. Well, you should probably be looking at it anyway because it might not be safe the way it is. And they'll be throwing, you know, people that are opposed to the project will be throwing everything they can against the wall to see if anything will stick, but we feel like we've done our due diligence. As I mentioned, the fish habitat. Interestingly enough, I didn't know this, that there's certain mussels that are good, and this project will increase the good mussels in the river. So you learn things like that. Some of the other things that we've heard in the past, especially upstream, the duck hunters, it won't affect them at all. The mud flats, they could be exposed during low, you know, drought periods. They are now anyway, just like they were even over at Paradise Pond. You know, when you get a drought, stuff shrinks, and then when it rains, it goes right back the way it was, and it ebbs and flows. So a lot of the concerns that people have, I would say, are probably temporary. Yeah, you might have a summer where you have a drought and things don't look the way you like it to, but then the next 5 summers, it might be fantastic, or vice versa. Probably the biggest thing that I'm gonna wanna learn more about are the property values. So we'll have a team working on that, because that would be something that, you know, if people's property value is gonna drop, that would be a little bit concerning, although their taxes would go down too. Now, if they don't want their property taxes to drop, they could always go in the open book and challenge that, but nobody usually does that to raise their taxes. They usually do it to lower it. So we want to learn a little bit more about that. If their property values are going to go down, is that like right away? Is that a period of years? How does that work? So we're going to probably try to get the city assessor involved in that conversation, or some more expertise. So these are the types of things that the DNR use to do their evaluation on the permits. A couple things we have going on in the spring. Out here, you've probably seen the flower benches. And that's kind of a fundraiser for the FFA and for the arts up at the school, and the money is split between them, and businesses can basically sponsor the artwork that's put on the flower beds, and I think that's been a really nice improvement. They're going to be adding some this next year, as you can see, from 18 to 22 by popular demand, so we're excited for that. Spread Goodness Day is coming up. I don't know, are we doing anything here for that this year?
I believe Laura is in communication.
Okay, so this will be the 4th year. I met with Sarah and Andrea last week. Sarah's on the right, she's the one that started it. She's from Evansville. And then Andrea's the one on the far left. She's from Stoughton. She works at the school district. So she's helping to organize things here locally. They've gotten sponsors. The governor has issued a proclamation. And it's just really a day for us to be kind, like we should be every day. But it just, you know, makes you think twice about things and appreciate what you have. So that'll be coming up in March, and they do things at the school like greet the students when they come in, and maybe color or hand out bookmarks. A lot of the after-school programs got involved, and they did some things, you know, for their teachers and things like that. So it was a really nice day, and it's been growing every year. So if you're looking to get involved, let me know, and I can direct you to either Sarah or Andrea. VITA, I know some of the dates changed.
They did.
You can maybe help me with that.
They had their first one on Saturday, just this last Saturday. I think the next one is the 21st of February. I think there's only like 7 spaces left, so.
Okay, so VITA is a program where you can get your taxes done for free if you're basically doing, I don't know, I call it the short form. I don't think that's really what it's even called
It's
anymore.
the 1040.
The 1040?
Yeah.
So if that's something that you're looking to have done, you can go over into the other building, and they can give you the materials you would need to set up the appointment. So I did a whole thing at St. Anne's. You might have saw it in the paper about a week ago, and really they asked me to come out there and just really talk about volunteerism and giving back to the community, and I was just blown away. I started putting together, you know, things, some slides like this. And it's just like every time I turned around, I found another organization or group or individuals that were doing all these awesome things in the community. Some of you I know, whether it's working at the polls, John does this music thing at the Opera House, just a lot of people really working really hard to make Stoughton much better. And I think that being able to share that with the kiddos at St. Anne's is really a good way, because volunteerism has been down, and those of you that volunteer know that it's rewarding, it's fun, you learn, you make new friends, and sometimes I don't know if the younger generation thinks about those things and how important that is. So I try to include some of those into these presentations just as kind of a reminder. And one of our volunteers is Bill Brew. Anybody know Bill? Yeah, so he volunteered for 46 years.
46 years.
Yeah, you could probably tell more about Bill than I could, AJ. I'll give you the mic.
Bill's he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
So Bill has been with the EMS, like we said, for 46 years. He started when he was 16, just so you guys are aware. I'm kidding there. Bill was also a teacher at the school district, and then also going above and beyond that, Bill also would take the kids so that they get an opportunity to go skiing. He would single-handedly coordinate that event for us, but his ability to help with EMS, we couldn't do it without him, and we are really struggling without him. So we are looking for EMTs. We are also looking for drivers only. We actually had to call him back after he retired so that we could keep the wheels moving, but he's now officially retired. So once we get him paid this week. But just an amazing guy. He also taught our CPR classes, so he left a hole there as well. And we're looking for volunteers to help with that as well. So that's my overview on Bill Brew. But
Yeah, and as you can see, I like putting people on the spot.
yeah, thanks. Cindy, you
Yeah.
want the microphone?
Couple businesses, this one's a name change up on Page Street. Eli's Automotive, the brew pub you probably heard is for sale. Good for them being able to retire again. The La Cantina is moving and changing their name. They're gonna be up where Pancake Cafe was. They've got their liquor license, they're about ready to go. I just heard about this weekend. This Euro Market is gonna be opening over in the strip mall over by Dollar General next to Pizza Pit. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what they have there, but what I see there looks really good. And then one slide I was gonna drop in here, but I didn't, but maybe you can speak to it, AJ, is
Yeah.
the PD.
So for those of you that were not aware, Chief Dan Jenks retired last week Friday. And I think it was a total of, was it 30-some years? Do you remember?
33.
33 years total. So I don't know if you remember, he retired approximately 4.5 years ago as our lieutenant. And then when Chief Greg Luck retired, Dan came back as our acting police chief. And then he was awarded the position as chief. So he's been on for the past 4 years. In the interim here, we are in the process of hiring a new chief. But Brandon Hill has taken the acting position, so he's our acting chief. He's been working under Dan and under Greg for over 25 years. So we're pretty excited to have him in the acting position. We will be doing interviews the week after next. We have 6 candidates at this time. 1 coming out of Chicago, 1 out of Milwaukee, 2 internals, 1 out of Cottage Grove, and then I had another one from Chicago and 1 from Indiana. So we have quite a selection between the internals and the externals. And then we also have a expert panel that'll be doing the interviews along with your police and fire commission. And we have people coming from local areas around here that'll be participating on that. So we have several chiefs that are coming in, 1 from Monona and 1 coming from Whitewater. And then we have some other people from the community that'll be participating as well. So we're pretty excited to get moving on that process and get our new chief named as soon as possible. Any
Excellent.
questions on that?
Any questions for AJ? As you can see, I'm blessed to have great people surrounding me. I mean, I have AJ, Cindy, and many others. So it makes my job a lot easier, and they're extremely busy too. You know, when we talk about the budget and state laws, it really limits what we can do, which means people like AJ and Cindy really have to work extra hours. They have a hard time using their vacation because they're just so busy. So, you know, the city of Stoughton is really lucky to have people like Cindy and AJ and, like I said, many others. I'm sure you've worked with the clerk's office or Public Works, and, you know, they all really care and they do their best to accommodate your needs. Sometimes, you know, they fall short. If they do, it's probably something that's beyond their control, but they really kind of wear things on their chest, so they're really passionate about what they do, and I think it's reflected in their performance, so.
Thank you.
Good. All right, any questions for me? Yes?
We heard something about somebody moving into the old Quick Trip by Culver's.
Yes. I don't know if I had their name there. I don't think I do. It's probably a different one. Anyway, it basically biking day camp. Right now, they're over at Macomb Plaza, and they rent out like 3 or 4 units there. And they're purchasing the old Quick Trip on Roby there, and they're gonna add on to the building. And then they're gonna have their after-school programming there. So they should be able to accommodate up to 40 more students, which is great because there's a huge need for it. And so they have their conditional use permit approved by the Plan Commission and the City Council, which means what they're proposing will allow. Now they just need to get their site plan done to make sure it meets all the criteria as far as setbacks and green space and lighting and landscaping and those types of things. So we don't anticipate any issues with that. They have more space than they need, especially for parking. I think somebody at Plan Commission said, well, these kids don't need all these parking spaces because they're mostly just being dropped off by their parents. So yeah, we're looking forward to that for them. The other thing I'm hearing is that the Primal Fitness is talking about moving from the building down here on Forest Street out to the lower units at Castle Condos. 3 or 4 units out there, which will give them more space as well. So they're another business that are looking to grow, and they provide amazing services for our kiddos. So there's still a lot going on. We expect it to be a busy year. We're gonna have probably at least 500 apartment units going up at some point by the end of the year, which will be really interesting. And of course, the DOT project, which I'll probably talk about a little bit at the next few meetings as we get a little more information from the DOT on when they're gonna start and how the phasing is gonna work. But that's gonna be a big deal going this way. It's gonna be fairly disruptive, but it'll be nice to get it done and see how it all comes out. We're gonna be making some improvements while we're at it, so I'm excited about that. Any other questions? All right, well, thanks again for coming out. I appreciate it. And then hopefully we'll see you next month. We should have somebody here from the Chamber and Stoughton Hospital and the school district as well. Have a great week.